Welcome back. Welcome back. It's the end of April, so let's just jump into our monthly wrap up. This month, as you can see by the thumbnail or the title, I read 16 books. Okay. First, I'll start with the books that I read on my Kindle, and then we'll get into the physical reads. And then I actually read an audiobook this month too, so we'll go into the audiobook. Wait, how should I do this? Hold on. We're going to start with the Kindle reads, and then we're going to jump into the audiobook that I listened to, and then we'll get into the physical reads. So let's just jump right into it. The first book I'm going to talk about that I read on my Kindle was The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I don't know what I expected going in. First of all, I knew the book was short, which it really was. I read it in like an hour and a half, if that. Like, it was a quick read, but I knew I wanted to read it because, one, I wanted to read more of Hemingway's works because, obviously he has a huge following and a lot of people put him like up there with authors. And then two, I like elderly protagonists. So it was about an old man and the sea. I knew I wanted to read it. And when I read it, I actually really, really enjoyed it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. At first, I was like, I don't know where this is going. It's slow paced, but it's also got a little bit of action in there. But to me, I feel like, one, again, it was a quick read. It was a story about a man who is on the sea. It's his journey with catching like this huge fish. I think they said it was like 18 feet long or something like that. Catching this huge fish and just the journey of getting it back to the land. It's a story about patience, about determination, about grit, about learning something from the generation before you because they be knowing, about respecting the sea and things like that. So I thought it was a good book. Quick read. If you want to get into Hemingway's works and you don't know where to start, I feel like that was a good start just because it didn't take that much of a time investment. And the story itself was like, it was good. I was feeling it. So that's the first book I talked about on my Kindle. The next book that I'm going to talk about, I read it earlier this month. It is The Filling Station by Vanessa Miller. And it talks about the Tulsa Race Massacre in the 1920s. Heavy book, but I liked the direction that the author took with it. So like essentially you follow these two sisters who both survived this terrible event. And you kind of just see how their life unfolds. So you can follow the path of this sister here and the path of this sister there. And I kind of like that just because I've read a few books about the Tulsa Race Massacre, mostly nonfiction. This is actually the first historical fiction that I've read. But I like the direction that she took because it really highlights like the aftermath of the actual survivors of it. And everything that unfolds, like the relationships after that, decisions that you make, dealing with the aftermath of it, PTSD, trust, decisions made, paths taken, all of that. So I actually like that she took that path that you can kind of see from a personal perspective, what life looks like, what life could look like after an event like that you can't, it's so evil, like you can't even fathom it. But to think about like the person, and this is a girl with a sister, and they have a life and they got to keep living. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed this book. I know I've seen a lot of good reviews for it, and I will have to agree with them because I thought it was really good too. Yeah, like it had a great pacing. It really highlights like the resilience in the face of sheer evil and hatred, and what it looks like to keep going on, to not let somebody who thought that they could take everything from you and snuff you out, to not give them every single part of you, and to keep going on. Like, what does that look like? So, yeah. And then it has a religious undertone too, which I'm seeing like, the more I read, the more I'm realizing quite a bit of books have religious undertone, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I like that book. Read it earlier this month. It might have been one of my first 2 or 3 books that I read this month. Okay, so those are the two books that I read on my Kindle. Next, I read one audiobook this month. I listened to Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, which I actually have the book. So I have a physical copy of Everything is Tuberculosis, but I actually listened to this on the Libby app. So I listened to the audiobook of this. The reason being is I bought this book, and where did I buy this from? I actually bought it on Pango Books, and it was supposed to be here early this month, and it just kept getting delayed. Like, I don't know what was up with USPS or FedEx, but it kept like pushing the delivery date back, and it's not on a sender because it was at the like my local distribution center. They just kept pushing the date back, and I was like, I want to read this book. Like, I want to read this book. What's going on? And they didn't have the ebook available through Libby at my local library, but they had the audiobook. So I'm not a huge audiobook girl, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. So I listened to this over a few days while I was like walking and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed this book way more than I thought I would. I was talking about this book for like 2 weeks with anybody that would listen, just because it was such an impactful book. Um, like, I feel like all the nonfiction books I've been reading this year, they've been like top tier, you know? But yeah, it's a very interesting book. It's about obviously tuberculosis, but it just kind of highlights it in a way that I've never heard it highlighted. Like, I know the basics about tuberculosis. Like, I knew how many people it has affected and wiped out over time. Well, I thought I knew to what extent, but I really didn't. But I had an idea that it was a lot, this general a lot. And I knew that there was a vaccine for it. So I did know that. I didn't know that it was the most deadliest infection, period. I did not know that. And I didn't know. It was interesting to see how the perception of tuberculosis has changed over the centuries, how it's changed even per decade, the medical advancements when it comes to tuberculosis, the social class, like the social, the racial, the geographical constraints that's put on the people who need actually like to be cured of tuberculosis, things like that, is crazy. To even think that you can literally come out your mouth and say, this is too expensive, it's not cost effective to save lives, that's just wild to me. Yeah, so some parts of this book was heartbreaking. All of it was very informative. You got to follow a few families and individuals who actually were affected by tuberculosis. But one story in particular was about this boy named Henry. And it was just so heartbreaking. Like, you get to follow his journey and how his family was affected by it. Just stuff like this is really, but like, a part of me is like, wow, I feel like it's good to know this. It's good to like understand global issues and not just focus on what happens like in your little community, even though tuberculosis, like, it's connected to so much stuff. And then the other part is like, bro, this is so heartbreaking. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, you get to follow Henry's story. He's a Sierra Leone resident and or citizen, and yeah, just everything that goes into that, how tuberculosis is linked to certain parts of art, certain parts of history, certain parts of geography, political affiliations and stances, how it's linked to obviously cash, because greed is at an all-time high and has always been since the inception of commodities, period. And yeah, but yeah, it was a really good book. I'm telling you, I didn't think I would enjoy this as much as I did. I did. I wanted to talk to everybody about this book after I read it. If you want to read it, read it. If it's on your list, definitely read it. This book also talks about how classism, racism, societal norms have kind of affected medical practices too. Like, you understand that they're at play, but they actually like real life affect medical practices, medical standards, medical advancements, medical interest, medical investment, like all of those things. So to me, it's really eye opening. I'm glad I read it. Very glad. Let's move on to the physical reads. Hold on, and real quick, not only did I ain't even gonna get into it. Let's just move on. Physical reads this month. Okay. I'm just going to grab them as we go. Told you I'm reading. If you've been following for any time, you know that I'm reading the Harry Potter series with my kid. We have a book club because, yeah. Anyways, we read The Goblet of Fire this month. This one was good. Like, I feel like everybody knows what the Harry Potter series is about. So it's kind of like, why are you telling us what this is about? But in this book, you got to see Harry, Hermione, Ron. You like they're still the same, but you get to watch them grow up. You know what I mean? They got to interact with another like magical school. They got to Harry once again was fighting for his life. He's always fighting for his life. And I was talking to my kid about these books. I'm like low key shocked at some of the like darkness in these books. And I'm not even talking about like I'm just like some of the stuff that went on in here. I'm like, dang, that's a lot for like a kid to digest. But yeah, you got to see that. Love Ron and his family. Ron a trip, but his family great. Hermione is still that girl, you know what I mean? So I thought this was good. Then we watched the movie and we were done. This and the Prisoner of Azkaban, those two are like gunning for my top spot right now. I haven't read the other ones yet. Next month we read, which one is it? Order of the Phoenix in May. So we'll see. So far, The Goblet of Fire and Prisoner of Azkaban, they're like up there for me right now. So I'm interested to see what the Order of the Phoenix is going to be all about. But yeah. Okay. Also, again, I'm just picking and choosing. We have Stoner by John Williams. This is a book I read on my road trip, and it's been on my TBR for 2 years. I kid you not. So shout out the road trips for helping you knock down your physical TBR, because I've been trying to read this for 2 years. Trying very loosely, but I've been wanting to read it for 2 years, and I'm glad I did. This book talks about the main character's name is Stoner, and what his last name? His name is William Stoner, and it follows him like almost like his regular life from being like a teenager, well, not a teenager, early adult to throughout his entire life. So he starts off, he's a farm boy, helps his parents on a farm. They send him off to school to the University of Missouri, and they sent him there to learn agriculture. He obviously picks his own path, did what they wanted him to do at first, then start doing his own thing, and you follow his journey, his relationship with his parents, his love life, him when he becomes a dad, him in his professional life, and you get to see almost this ordinary man and how his life, just like you and I, just like our life, can be devastating, beautiful, simple, complex, selfish, selfless, like all at once. Like simplicity can be beautiful, but so can complexity, and they can both coexist at the same time. And you see just like everything just unfold, and the pacing is so good. I really feel like I'm watching like a documentary of this man's life. Yeah. Takes place in the 19th century. Then it made me think about like how when you get to college, how when a lot of people get to college, they reinvent themselves. They get to veer off and find their own path. They get to see a world that's outside of everything that they thought was the world. You know, more things open up to them. they find their own interests. They understand stuff that they didn't before, and how it's just like it's like a coming of age. But again, you get to follow him throughout his entire life through these ordinary things, and it just made me think of how our lives, who to you your life seems ordinary, to me my life seems ordinary, but it's so much beauty and it's so much like richness in that ordinary story. And that's what you get with this. You're getting a story of an ordinary man in the 19th century who had an ordinary life, and it's so much to be learned and gained and like taught from it. So yeah. Next, let's see. We're gonna go here. Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs. This book, I received this book as part of the book Advent challenge that my husband got me for Christmas. If I had $1 for every time savage was used as an adjective, I'd be rich, baby. Everything, I was reading this book like, oh, the savage beast, savage Africa, savage this, savage that, their savage ways, savage, 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 savage. And then you get like, oh, but then this beautiful white woman with her beautiful white glowing skin. I was like, bruh, why this wasn't my favorite book by far. It kind of gave me a glimpse into like the writing style and priorities during this time. And I felt like, I don't know, I feel like there's something to be gained from most books. Like, this was a trip. And I've read like kid stories of Tarzan, watched plenty of movies that's based on Tarzan. So it's kind of good to read the book too. It annoyed me. I was rolling my eyes left and right. But hey, I read it. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on, we have Native Son by Richard Wright. This book, I'm going to do its own review for it. This book right here, I was telling my husband, like, some books you read and some books you experience. And this book, I feel like, was an experience. Like, it had my mind just going, like wheels turning. Like, I was ready to freaking write a report and argue with somebody about this book. Like, let's discuss, let's talk about it, because the things in this book and the like questions that came from it and the conversations that could be had and the ideas behind it, the psychological like implications and societal thing constructs and like systematic oppression and guilt and the justice system and justice period, and like, yeah, this book, it's something else, man. It follows, the main character's name is Bigger Thomas, and it follows his life. You get inside of his mind, and it's told in the third person, but you still get to like understand who he is, why he's that way, what he's done, his thought processes behind it, like how he interacts in his different relationships, like with his mama and sisters and brothers, his girlfriend, his employers, like, and you get to follow him. I don't want to give it away. Let me see. I wish they had like a, okay, this book doesn't have like a synopsis on it, but I wish because I don't want to give it all away. Basically, he already like a knucklehead kind of, and then he gets this break where he gets like a new job that's supposed to help propel him and his family, keep him out of trouble, and it goes left, and you just following the aftermath and the fallout of that. But it's not like, while the story is like that, it's not like a crime novel. It's just so much. It's, the only thing I can say is I'm mad I didn't read this before now. I'm mad this was my first time reading this, and I'm reading it because my husband was like, I can't believe you haven't read this before. Like, I had to read this in high school, and I was like, baby, they didn't have us read that, but I'm floored. Yeah. Next book. If you haven't read this, please consider it. It's not easy to read. Some parts are graphic and gory, and you are probably gonna be disgusted multiple times. But try to like work through it if you can. Obviously, not everybody's gonna be able to. It's triggering at some points. Try to work through it if you can and read it, because to me, it's worth it. Next, we have The Accomplice by Curtis Jackson and Aaron Phillip Clarke. Um, Before I read this, I saw a lot of mixed reviews. I saw a lot of people say they hated this book. They DNF'd it. They did not finish it. I saw some people say it was okay, but it read more like a movie or a TV script. To me, this was not the best book by far, but it wasn't the worst either. It was just kind of okay to me. Like the way that it ended, it seemed like there would be a sequel. I will not be reading a sequel to this. I'm not invested in the characters, the storyline past this. I'm good on that. But it wasn't the worst. It's about the main character. Her name's Nia, and she is like the first female Texas Ranger. And it follows her story. She's trying to solve this case. So it's like, and all this stuff. And like, cool. It's set in Texas and it's set in the 2000s. I think early 2000s, like 2004 or something like that. Like, while all that's cool, I had some issues with it too, because where it's set at in Texas, like, I know these places very well. And I was like, have y'all ever visited these cities that you talking about? Because I don't know. Like, I get it. Like, if you look at it on a map, you might think it's one way, but like, have you literally ever went to this city? Okay. But anyways, other than that, it was just okay to me. I just, it felt kind of flat. It wasn't bad. It was good enough for me to keep reading. So that's that on that. I had somebody that I saw online related to like a S.A. Cosby book. Imagine a S.A. Cosby book if somebody would, that's actually me. Let me not say that. Maybe he was going for S.A. Cosby's style or type books, but it didn't make it there. It didn't make it there. Next, we have Stephen King's Dreamcatcher. This is the second Stephen King book I've read. I read Insomnia and this. Reading this made me think Stephen King might not be for me. Like, he might not be for me. This book was what, like, his writing, and I thought the same thing when I read Insomnia. It's so out there. It's wild. It's the whole time I'm reading this book, I kid you not, I was like, what is happening? Except this book was very disgusting. Like, it was, if you don't mind constantly hearing about bodily fluids and bodily waste and just, I wanted to throw up when I was reading this book. I kid you not. But you want to keep reading it because you like, this doesn't make sense. Where is he going with this? And he going somewhere with it. But then it's like, I just read, how long is this book? I just read 620 pages of pure WTF. And I'm just like, if you want to be disgusted and then semi-interested because you're like, and then shocked and then back to being disgusted again, read this. This will do it. This gonna do it for you. Because I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? It follows 4 guys who they've been friends since they was kids and they're adults now. And it follows them. They go every year on like this annual trip to this cabin, and it's like a hunting trip or whatever. And they go there and they spend the time there with each other every year. But you get to see like a glimpse, more than a glimpse. You get a pretty good fleshed out view into like what their lives look like outside of this one time trip. And even there. And then they, had his friend that connects them all. And when they get to the cabin this year, it's just crazy. Like something out of this world happens, quite literally. And you're following that story and watching the four of them navigate it. I think I was just like, huh? And the way that, what, he did describe it well. Let me see. Their only chance of survival is locked in their shared past. Yeah, that's true. But wait. Before long, these men will be plunged into a horrifying struggle with a creature from another world. Each hunting season, the foursome reunite in the woods of Maine. Yeah, this year a stranger stumbles into their camp, disoriented and mumbling something about lights in the sky. This book is wild. And I was told that it's a movie too. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't want to be disgusted. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand if Stephen King is for me because, and then other people are like, you know what? Regardless of if Stephen King is for you, you have to read 11/22/63. So I think I'm gonna read that one, and I might just call it a day because I'm like, Mr. King, what are we doing here? This is actually insane. Like the more I read it, the more I'm like, what's going on actually? You know? Anyways, let's move on. The three last books of Toni Morrison's fictional catalog finished on this month, you know what I'm saying? So let's go over them in order. We have A Mercy. This book was good. Really short, really short. I talked about these in their own separate video, but I think it actually comes out after this, but you'll see that. This book right here, this one was set in like the 1680s with the slave trade, and it follows a trader who received a slave as part payment for a trade, for like a bad debt owed. And it just goes over like what that looks like dealing in the slave trade, especially when you're not a slave trader, and following like the different lives of people and their owners or masters and stuff like that. This was good. Still written like from that stream of consciousness that Miss Toni Morrison, she gonna do. She did that here. It is very heavy-handed on the religious undertones because one of the main characters, her story is really tied into like religion at the time, like different churches and different church groups and different people where she was like settled at and stuff like that. It talks about, again, that sense of belonging. All that is in this book. Really good. I actually like this more than I thought I would. Then these two books, we have Home and God Help the Child. I can say about both of these that they were the easiest of her books to read to me. They read the easiest. The subject matter is not easy. They were just easier to follow. These were one of the only two books. These were the two books that I didn't have to go back and reread anything. They were pretty straightforward. You can tell who was talking when. It wasn't written like stream of consciousness. It was very clear. You didn't have much to decode. So yeah. So at Home, it follows Frank Money, which is a war veteran who came back home after the Korean War. Follows his journey, getting back home, helping his sister, navigating life in America after coming back home from fighting the war. Everything that goes into that, figuring out your relationships, where you belong, love, family. What is home? Is home your family? Is it your place? Is it a sense of self? Is it your hometown? Is it where you came of age? Is it where you became a man? Is it where you learned this monumental thing? Like, where is it? Then you got God Help the Child, which is heavily talks about colorism. The main character, Bride, or her birth name is Lula Ann. She was born, they describe her as blue black, and both of her parents are really light skinned. And it talks about her struggle, how she was treated first and foremost by her mama and daddy, and then like it goes on to, you know, society and how that changes the older she gets. This is Toni Morrison's only book that's set in present day. It's not set, you know, back in the day or nothing like that. It's actually set in the 2000s, I believe, and it follows Bride's life essentially. I like that you get to see Bride as a child being mothered by her mom, and you get to understand and see her mom realize things in real time. And then you get to see Bride move into that mother position as well. So I enjoyed that about this book. Talks about addiction, talks about child abuse. Check your trigger warnings. It's a lot of abuse and all of it. If you read Toni Morrison, period, look up them trigger warnings because they'll sneak up on you. But not really because they very much outright. But you know what I mean. Okay, only 4 more left, y'all. 4 more. Stick with me. Okay, I read Chain Gang All Stars. This book right here, this book made me irrationally mad. This book made me mad. Not just for like what you could clearly see, like the outright things, but just like the underlying truth in it. Just like, let me just tell you, it involves chain gangs, which is like when you're in prison, you get the option, well, you don't get the option, but some people have the opportunity to like play in this cruel fighting arena type deal. And it's like, it's just showing like the private prison system doing what they do, exploiting, making money, exploiting, making money, repeat. And it follows 2 main characters, Thorward, and Stacks. And it has other characters too, but that's like the central group to me in this. And it just follows what their journey is. So these are all criminals who are fighting to the death, like gladiator style, like for people's entertainment, so that obviously the prison system can make more money. And it just goes through just what that looks like and how I'm like, bro, people really would do this right now to this day. They probably are doing it. And what I like about this book is it sprinkles in real life facts. So when you're hearing something in here, it'll go back to something that's actually happened or happening right now and tie it into this. So you could think like it's not far fetched. Yeah. This is historical fiction. I'm not historical fiction. This is like fiction, but he's dropping real life stats, real life stuff in here. And I appreciated that about this. Now I'm looking through what I read. It's also graphic. Maybe I'm sensing a theme here. Also heartbreaking, sensing another theme. But it's an important read to me because I'm like, I just be so disgusted. That's a good tie-in to the next book that disgusted me. So many books disgusted me. Let me show you one that had me like, I was done. King Leopold's Ghost. A story of greed, terror, and heroism in colonial Africa. Words can't describe how disgusted and angry and like emotional this book made me. Words cannot describe. I was ready to go find his ashes in the ground. This book right here, if ever I think that I can't be more disgusted with colonialism in Africa and greed, sheer greed and pure and vile hatred. If ever I think like I understand that fully and I can't be more disgusted, I read something like this. And it is like you can multiply it. I'm just like, bro, King Leopold I don't want to say single-handedly because that's like absolving all of the people that literally carried out his commands. He was the owner of the Congo and the founder of the Congo. And the sheer amount of violence and hatred and disgustingness and lewdness and pure evil that he did, and all his cronies, that they did for the sake of what? Like, greed, hate, just because you can, sport. Like, I was done. This talks about how the Congo and the Congolese people were literally destroyed, treated. And it makes you think, like, what's the recovery for that? It really makes you think, like, and then you think, how can this man like lie? He just like back, like, you can just lie and people just be like, okay, yeah, cool. He never, mind you, King Leopold II never stepped foot in the Congo, yet he ruled with an iron fist for some foolery. Like, I was so, I don't think, like, I was sick to my stomach reading this. This is another book I got for the Book Advent Challenge that my husband got me in December. This one, I was excited when I got it because it was on my list. Like, I had it in my Amazon cart, and he ended up buying me the book. And I was like, oh, it's meant to be. Boy, when I say I opened this book up, I was floored. I was speechless. I almost have no words for this book. 100% the history of what happened. I have no words. And I only knew, when I say I knew like this much of this, I knew like, oh yeah, King Leopold II. Like, I knew, oh yeah, he's like somehow he's Belgian and, this and that. Like, I knew very little. Child, I just read this book. You're gonna be mad. I was mad. But I feel like while this is triggering, is true, it was necessary for me to read, because I be feeling like, yeah, I understand, like, obviously people can be evil, obviously people can be greedy, obviously, like, that these things, and then when you read, like, you're reading real accounts of stuff people actually like said and wrote and did, and pictures, and you are like, you just so, I'll never understand. I'll never understand. Like, that pure hatred and just, I don't got no more words. Read this. That just, like, this, me saying I was disgusted by this made me think about this. This takes the cake. I was just like, read that, y'all. Child. Let me move on, because I'm getting mad all over again. 2 books left. Okay, let's do this one. We had Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. First of all, let's appreciate how beat up this is real quick. She done been through a lot, okay? She's been through the ringer. But she here. She's still holding on. She's still strong. She's still strong. This book right here is a classic for a reason. Like, sometimes you read a classic and you like, if I dig deep enough, I could find. Y'all going outside? Go ahead. My kids were trying to be respectful and wait for me to finish recording. Anyways, sometimes if I read a classic, I'm like, okay, I can dig deep and figure out, like, how did this become a classic? Sometimes I have no idea. Sometimes you read a classic and you're like, yeah, I get it instantly. It's so, First of all, it's the way that it's written. It's like the main character, Janie, is telling her best friend on a porch like a story of where she's been. She been gone, and she telling the story. I already like that. First of all, I already like this. Feels familiar to me. It feels like right up my alley. Sitting on the porch, she like, "Girl, where you been?" And you just telling her everything that occurred. This book talks about gender roles and societal norms and stuff, especially during this time. And I immediately knew I would like it. Like I knew early on I would like it. Like the dialect in it, how it's written, how you can almost hear like the Creole accents coming out here and there. Like I already knew I would like this. Then you got the main characters, like you got Janie, Joe, Tea Cake, Phoebe, Miss Turner, and it's like I feel like I'm in the neighborhood. Like I feel like I'm there and I'm watching this and the car game here and this going on there and the store here and I'm seeing this and then he come out from out of town here and then she teaching him this and then check is here. Like I can literally see it popping open the soda. It was so good. Like it felt the last few chapters were, yeah, they drug you through the mud because it was so like, why they have to be so tragic, but it was so good. Like it was so good. It was so good. Janie saw her life like a great tree in leaf, with the things suffered, things enjoyed, things done and undone. Dawn and doom was in the branches. Mm-mm-mm. 1937 classic. It was so. What else can I say? Like 5 stars, obviously. Like no brainer, straight out the top 5. I don't even know what else to say except y'all probably already read this. If you haven't, read it. Last book, y'all. Last one. We have The Wager by David Grann, a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. This book started off slow to me. It took a while to ramp up. But when it did, it was actually very interesting. I knew nothing about this. I knew nothing about The Wager. Just nothing. Nothing about it. But yeah, like in the 1700s, I think 1742, The Wager washed up on the coast of Brazil, and it just talks about where it's been, how it's a whole story about where the ship been, what they had to do, barely surviving, like. And then after that, so they told a whole story about survival. After that, years later, another ship washed up on the sea, like washed up on the shore, and then said, wait, y'all thought they were the good guys? That first ship that came, they're not. They weren't the good guys. It was the bad guys. And it's just this whole like, I don't want to get too much away, but you might know it's nonfiction, so you might know the actual story that's already. I didn't. I went in blind, and while it started off slow, it picked up. It was super interesting once they got on the boat, and it was just rolling. This is a really good book. I ain't gonna lie. Like started off slow, but definitely worth it. So that's it, y'all. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know what you think. If any are on your TBR, if you love any, if you hate any, let me know. If you agree with what I said, you disagree, let's talk about it. See y'all.